Thank you all so much for your time today. My name is Heidi Allwood. I'm with McGraw-Hill. And the reason I started with a slide that focuses on students today is because that's exactly what McGraw-Hill does. Everything we do is about driving student success and making sure that students are always at the heart of what we do. And what I wanted to start with today in kind of our short time together is, first of all, and we've talked about it a little bit already, and Mark just did, is how we can really deliver student performance on the very first day of class. So talking a little bit about inclusive access and then moving right into what our personalized and adaptive tools look like, and then certainly leaving it open for some questions from you all today. And so what we see, we did a study actually of 2.5 million students who use our online platform, Connect. And what we found is that when students had access on the first day, they did 20% better as a result than if they waited till day 14 or even later. So we're seeing some dramatic results when students are able to get to their materials on the very first day. And I think that kind of correlates with a lot of what folks, even here at UF, are seeing in part of the All Access program, where we have some of our courses enrolled. At McGraw-Hill, we've been certainly in the game for a long, long time. We've been known as a publisher for over 125 years. We've put out quality content. But what's exciting right now is that this moment is very, very different than the past that we've been experiencing with printed books. What we're talking about now is making sure that we're delivering results that matter to students. We used to, print books and hope that it would fit with an instructor, and we would hope that an instructor would say, yes, let's use this. And we would hope that then the student would buy it. And that was kind of a way that we had to operate for a long time. But we don't hope anymore. What we do is we partner with educators. We build relationships with researchers and scientists to make sure that the content that we're providing to students has actual measurable results to it. That we're not, if students are working in a McGraw-Hill tool, we need to make sure that they're seeing value to that tool. And that's what we're working with institutions across the country in order to do. And so we're asking questions like, how do students learn new material? How do we process new information? How often do we forget that? How many times do we need to see it before we, actually move it to our long-term memory? So everything that we're doing at McGraw-Hill right now is focused on really learning science and understanding how can we fine-tune the tools. If we're requesting and instructors are requiring students to purchase tools, we need to make sure that they absolutely work and that they deliver measurable results. One of our primary tools, and I'm going to touch on two of them in our time together, is SmartBook. And SmartBook is our interactive reading experience for students. And it's really the only thing like it in the marketplace right now. It presents the content, all of the book content to the student in an electronic format. But what's exciting about it is that students get to interact with that content in real time and get presented with questions and learning resources that they need as they're working through it. And so in Dale's presentation earlier today, actually, when he was talking a little bit about some of the questions that come up during this adaptive tool, it is where students are able to rate their level of confidence with that material. And what we're trying to do is gather as much information from that student as they're working in the content to make sure that what we're presenting to them is exactly right for them in that moment. And so students read through and they're working in the practice questions. Material becomes highlighted in different ways for them in real time. And then what's happening and what's so exciting on the back end of that is that you, as the instructor, you're able to gather all of that information so that you can really create a personalized learning experience in your classroom with your students. So you're able to see the things like the most challenging learning objectives overall. So where are my students actually struggling? We have many instructors that just take even a quick peek at that report a half an hour before lecture to realize, okay, this is an area that's surprising to me. I didn't realize that students were struggling here. Let me touch on that in class. Or I've heard so many instructors say, students don't want to say, ooh, I didn't get that. I don't want to be the one raising my hand. But if you're raising your hand, probably 20 other students have the same question. And now you can see that ahead of time. You can take a look at the reports and be able to really make that meaningful to your student and make your class time even more productive. What's exciting about adaptive technology right now, and it's so exciting to hear the enthusiasm and questions in the room as well, is that we've been doing it for a couple years now with SmartBook. It was first launched in May 2013. And since that time, we do have over 1,000 different adaptive products right now. And that's over in over 90 different disciplines, actually. So there's hardly a course area we don't touch at this point. Almost 5 million students right now are working in adaptive programs with McGraw-Hill. And we have that really big number at the bottom, which is over 3 billion questions answered. And it's fun because sometimes we have a calculator that goes in real time to show how that's increasing. To pivot just for a second and to talk in this short period of time a little bit about our other tool, which is Alex. And that's certainly been brought up somewhat today as well, but to give kind of a quick recap around it, and we're certainly happy to talk at much more length at our table outside. Alex itself is an acronym that means Assessment and Learning in Knowledge Spaces. And knowledge spaces knowledge space theory is actually the scientific research that Alex is based on. And so, like I mentioned before with SmartBook, what we're doing is making sure that partnerships that we create, we had a partnership with Alex, we now own Alex, are with companies that are doing really cutting edge research. With Alex, it's backed by decades of research, actually, at this point, because what happened is in the early 1980s, researchers at UC Irvine and NYU, they got together and they actually got a grant from the National Science Foundation in order to work on knowledge space theory. And what was born out of that is the platform that's Alex. So what's exciting to think about there is that this is not a publishing company saying, hey, let's sell some software to students. It's actual research into the ways of understanding how students learn math best, and how can we intervene and help, and how can we partner with instructors and institutions in order to make that a more personalized experience. The exciting thing about Alex is that students in Alex are only presented with material that they have a 92% chance or better at being successful with. So we're creating this personalized learning path for them. They're seeing the material that they're ready to learn so that they're successful and so that they can build confidence in the system. The final point that I mentioned there is important because it is text agnostic. So you can use a McGraw-Hill text with it. You can use nothing. You can use your own materials. You can use a competitive product. The point is that it gets to the math. It gets to the fundamentals, and that it's a flexible way that you can integrate it in whatever way you see fit. The student experience is a pretty clean, straightforward system. What they're doing is they're working, it's all open response. So there's actually no multiple choice in Alex. I know we're kind of at the end of the time there, so I apologize because I'm kind of jumping to the end, but absolutely would love to take questions now and then be available afterwards as well. Oh, yes, Dan.
Is there a product path for Alex and SmartBook to start sharing their technology?
Absolutely. I would say what's happening in the future of McGraw-Hill is that we're working in close proximity with a lot of educators and institutions to figure out, in a perfect world, what would your system look like? And in many cases, we've heard from instructors, you know what, I want some of that static content of a traditional learning platform. But I want to mix that in a little bit with Alex, and I want to be able to choose from both. Or to your point, I want to pull from the SmartBook. We have SmartBook in math now as well. So, we want to be able to pull from what's working, what's best there, and bring it into some of our more legacy products like Alex in order to really meet the needs of educators and students. Yes, ma'am.
Is Alex at all adaptable? Is Alex adaptable? Can it be, for example, modified to suit certain specialties more?
Certain specialties within a classroom, you mean? Or
no, for example, using math for a biology or microbiology class.
So ALEX is available in roughly 100 course areas, but that's from K-12 all the way through higher ed. As it is right now, and Dale kind of touched on this before, but there's thousands of topics that are included within ALEX. Right now, the courses are structured around pretty traditional courses like a beginning algebra, college algebra, pre-calculus, and so forth. But there are ways to pull that content to suit your needs. So if there are particular topics that one would cover in a special class, you can absolutely pull in those topics and have them be catered to what you need. What doesn't happen in ALEX is that you don't write your own questions or write your own content. And that's actually part of the reason, kind of to Dale's question, is that we're looking to work on a larger platform where more of those individual pieces and needs can be met.